So we went from this church where people were meeting in houses, sharing a meal together, and talking about how they would live into the love of Jesus, and then eating together, to, I'm not holy enough to eat this thing. And then, so there's Pelagian and Augustinian pigs on this side. But what I want you to see now is this. So this becomes the major item, the major symbol in liturgies. And I'll let you pass this around. Does anybody know what that is?
Oh, yes.
Somebody tell them what it is. It's called a monstrance.
Spell that,
what
please.
happened was, the most important feast day in the church became the Feast of Corpus Christi. And the Feast of Corpus Christi is what it sounds like. So what would happen is, in this little center part right here, the priest would put a consecrated host in there, and then the priest would wear gloves, because this was too holy to touch. And he would grab this monstrance at the bottom and then process around the church and later around the entire town so that people could have ocular communion. They could look at this host that the priest is holding up and have ocular communion, because of course they weren't holy enough to actually swallow this. Okay? I mean, it got ridiculous. So by the year 1215, at the Fourth Lateran Council, there was a law made that you had to take communion once a year. So what does that tell us? Nobody was taking communion because they all thought it was too holy for them to do. So this monstrance became the main deal. Okay? Folks, there are still plenty of churches. I wish Stephen Himmel was here. Who was a Roman Catholic priest in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. You all know Stephen Himmel. I wish he was here with us right now, because he would tell you. He walked into my office as I was preparing this on Friday and said to me, you know what? I only had to use a monstrance twice in my career. And he was all happy to report that. So there are still churches that use monstrances today. I want you to know where it came from and how it happened. We went from a church having communion with a bunch of folks in somebody's house, having a meal together and sharing what it meant to be part of Jesus, to that. Okay?
No wonder we had a reformation.
Okay. Exactly. So you see where we're going here. How am I doing? 12:45. I have 10 minutes. Is that right?
15.
15 minutes? Okay, good.
You
All right,
know,
everybody
Steve,
okay?
In the Catholic Church, they still say, I am not worthy to receive.
Those are the words.
Those are still the words.
Exactly.
I am not worthy to receive you.
And those are exactly why we avoid those words like the plague here, because of where that's taken us. Okay? It's amazing stuff. Okay, let me throw in a couple more. In the 11th century, there's a full fight on the actual flesh controversy, this whole idea about transubstantiation, this whole understanding that something chemical is happening to the bread and the wine in this process, and that it's actually turning into flesh and blood in a literal sense. That becomes a major part of understanding. In the 11th century, clerical celibacy is enforced for the first time. The 11th century, clerical celibacy is enforced for the first time. Okay, and so of course there's no biblical reason for that. What does that come out of? Do you think this whole idea about a priest being celibate? Well, later it will. But I think the idea comes out of Augustine of Hippo, and this movement towards purity and Gnosticism. You know, that the material world is bad, and the spiritual world is good. I think that's the root of it. So sex becomes a bad thing, and you want to separate your clergy from the rest of